I'm not dead, but I'm here to say that I am in love with Sturm and Drang. Happy 9/11 to my fellow Americans. Enjoy the video. Oh, I'm 5 overshot shots? Wait, what? GG's. There goes the ball. I actually hit a fucking low ledge there. Um, it's a while since I've done this YouTube thing. I kind of forgot how this worked. Um, but I'll say this much. The build, there's two builds I'm going to show you. This is for two builds I'm going to show you, right? You have Sturm and Drang, and then you have Mida Multi-Tool and Mida Mini-Tool. I could pull clips from the stream like these. But see, the problem is so I'll explain something to you right now that it's really frustrating for someone like me, especially when I make YouTube videos out of my streams, for example, that the audio in this most of the time have copyright, music, etc., that might limit the possibility of where you might see these videos. And the problem in question is that, first of all, the quality is shittier since I downloaded it from Twitch, so the quality is already worse than what it normally. Well, you see here, it's been approximately 24 hours since last time I recorded anything, and some things have changed. First of all, Sturm has gotten disabled. Not the best for wanting to make a Sturm and Drang video with Mida Multi-Tool and Mida Mini-Tool. I'm gonna scrap that idea to begin with. And, let's change the topic. The new season is horrible. I think enough people have said that, and I don't really have a right anymore to talk about this game since I don't play this game, right? I think that's correct for how most things are, but you should look at the casuals like myself, and myself think this game is horrible. The L's that the studio's taken over and over and over these last few weeks is hilarious. And I think most people will agree with me in some sense to that. It's pretty embarrassing how many times they're fumbling the bag in a row. Um, Banning people for the most stupid reasons. He said mean words online. Please execute this user. I get it. I get it. We're in times where a simple word is going to murder someone. Literally. To me, I seek the at least attempt to have some enjoyment when I play this game, and I struggle. I struggle a lot, and I want to make videos. I want to make these things, but I just don't see the reason. This game is dead. This game is awful. No matter what they seem to do, it doesn't seem to help it at all. This video was originally supposed to be called the unsatisfying fall of special weapons. You can probably understand what that was supposed to be directed towards, and it was mainly towards how this expansion started. You know, we have essentially seen a complete eradication of what we once knew as specials. Many of us wanted kind of less specials, more primary, even me included. But the way things turned out made me realize that that was not necessarily the solution I was seeking to the problem. It wasn't more, Drang, Sturm, Mida Mini Tool, Mida Multi Tool. It was, in fact, something completely else that took over specials as a whole. And I think many of us have been fed up by this by now. I haven't even posted since they became available in the game, the shock and hand cans. And the shock and hand cans honestly made me want to quit the game for good. Essentially, I have. I get on. I think I have 10 hours on this game over the last week, which is not a lot compared to what I used to be. I used to spend hours and hours and hours. I enjoyed playing this game to some extent. Now I don't know how many people relate with this one, but let's explain this in simpler terms, shall we? You see a problem. Bungie acknowledges this problem. They come up with a stupid solution. If another person see this problem and they come up with a better solution, instead of listening to what the community has as feedback to getting a better option, they choose to instead come with something that sounds cool, unique, and quirky, but on the deep end of at least PvP, it does not work out well. I think one of the greatest special systems we had was before they removed them for the bricks. And right now, Bungie seems split on both of them. They want the bricks on the map since it probably took very long to design it, and they also want the special meter since a lot of people were asking for it. And they want to make it an integrity to the game as it is. Sure, let's roll with this. Now what's the problem? Certain special weapons aren't performing. Shotguns that by nature will underperform compared to shotgun handguns. One of them is infinite ammo and almost one-shots you no matter what. Sure, they can't one-shot you, and that's the point. I've seen some clips when they originally dropped, which made me kind of scared to even open the game. The Javelin weekend we got was horrible, simply because everything you would see was Graviton Spike and the Trials Shock and Handkin. Now what is the solution, you say? Well, the solution should be to acknowledge the power creeps and do something about it, instead of letting them rot the sandbox for as long as possible. Because the longer you let something rot, the more annoying it will be to play against it. If something is meta for 2 weeks, it's going to be annoying at the end of it, but sure, it might be like, whoa, this is crazy, and then it becomes, whoa, what the fuck, man, and then it becomes, wow, this is awful, right? But if you let it sit there for months, let's just bring up a good example, Redrix. What happened to Redrix? Well, they released it with the comp season and just didn't touch it barely at all for the longest time, even though it was dominating and ruining the sandbox as we knew it. To me, I didn't see a reason for it to be so strong for so long, but to Bungie, it seemed like they didn't really care at all. To them, it was just whatever. And this happens over and over. Smoke bombs. Smoke bombs were obnoxious since the release of the DLC Final Shape. They got nuked at the end of the DLC, that's almost a year in length. Think about that one. That it takes too long for something to be done. And this is the problem we see over and over, and this is why a lot of people just don't even think the Destiny PvP sandbox is worth it to engage in. The game used to be smooth, the game used to perform pretty decently well. I use a key word there, used to, because it doesn't anymore. The game's performance has gone down the drain. The meta just keeps getting more and more obnoxious and annoying to play against. And, to me, I don't really care. I barely play this game enough to have to care. But when I do, I understand why the people who are going to play this game every single day will want to shoot themselves in the head. So yeah, that's the unsatisfying fall of special weapons. Now brings me to the other topic. Sturm and Drang, Mida Mini-Tool and Mida Multi-Tool. I like this combo. I like these weapons. Mida Mini-Tool feels really good, especially with Hipfire Grip and Offense Strike. And Drang is incredibly strong with Master of Arms. These combinations makes their exotic counterpart extremely powerful, since Maeda needs kills to stack up and become stronger, and I like these new unique changes to these guns. I don't necessarily think they're broken, except for Drang, but besides that, I don't think necessarily any of these are that overtuned, at least how the current sandbox is. We just came from Graviton Spike, so I don't think a lot of primaries are going to outcompete what we just witnessed. It's like going from a meta that is hard pulse rifle, just 2 burst instantly, to Igneous Hammer. It's like, Igneous Hammer is good, yes, but it's not as dumb as whatever the fuck we just had, so let's settle in for a little bit, you know, before we jump to conclusion. But I do have still some very big problems with the current sandbox. Where do we even begin? Well, to start off, this week's Trials map is not necessarily the best one to show off. I think the first week of Trials, which was Burnout, we saw a pretty good example of how good Aisha's Embrace was. I think it's Aisha's. One of the fucking Aisha's guns. It's the Scout Rifle. A great example of how powerful these Scout Rifles are. And on top of that, it's not just Aisha's. It's every 260 Scout PI, any box breathing Scouts, in that sense, that work incredibly well on these maps. It just allows for very disengages gameplay. And honestly, I'd rather pass than playing this. But in a celebration to me actually uploading finally for over a month now, I will be streaming live after this video goes live. You know, I'm not really performing that well. I think I'm playing at like a 0.8 this week. So we are going strong. We are a strong will of the Force. And we enjoy playing this game for the fun. I understand some people take this game a little bit serious when they play and think everything is blood, death, or, you know, being your biggest enemy. But personally, I just like laughing when I play the game. And I think more people should. So try to do that instead of hating everyone you play. Blame the meta, not the players. Am I right? Amen, brothers. No, but seriously. I haven't uploaded in so long. For this reason and this reason alone. The game just isn't fun for me to play on longer, extended periods of time, constantly. And I think a lot of people also relate to this, looking just at the statistics for the numbers of how many people will play. It's not even about the power level. I don't really care about the power level. If the power level is awful but PvP is fun, I will play this game. If the power level is fun but the PvP is awful, I'm not going to play this game at all. And like, this is not the first time I just completely stopped playing almost altogether. Like, we've had periods of time where I didn't play. Let's just give you an example of my timeline itself. I'm not a consistent and person who plays this game every single day all the time as much as possible. I have my periods where I play a lot, sure, but I also have a time where I just don't play at all. So I started playing this game when the game dropped, so that would be Red War, and I quit it halfway through. So I didn't even finish Red War, and I just quit until Warmind came out, which is the second expansion, I guess, of this game. And then I played up until Forsaken. I quit in Forsaken and started playing at the end of Blacksmith, which is Season 2 of Forsaken, since I got my PC finally, my first PC. Then I played up until Opulence, played half of Shadowkeep. You're going to see a pattern here up until more recent years. I played half of Shadowkeep, and then I just quit until Season 10, which is through 8, 9, and 10. And then I started playing Season 10. I enjoyed it, played through Season 11, and then Beyond Light dropped. I quit for almost the entire year of Beyond Light. I played at launch. I used and abused Behemoth when it was the most broken. They started patching a lot of stuff, and it kind of made me like, I think this is a cool concept, but really, really bad design. So I didn't really play much until the end of it. So 30th anniversary was when I started playing. I even competed in the dungeon race. I think I matched like 500 or something, which I thought that was pretty cool, you know, to begin with. I thought the dungeon itself was cool, and I enjoyed the weapons coming back, and mostly of all, I enjoyed playing PvP for the time. And this is kind of where the spark of where I should start posting videos. Yes, in the beginning, the like 30th anniversary, I streamed a little bit, but I just streamed whatever the fuck I felt like. But my biggest game at the time was Destiny 2. And then I kept playing, and then Void 3.0. Come on. Void 3.0 showed me that Bungie does not know what they're doing. And this is when I started making YouTube videos. Originally, it was just rants. I just posted rants and rants and rants. Most of them are deleted or privatized for big reasons. But I started uploading, just gameplay videos and more gameplay videos. And people started like actually watching it. I started getting recognized, and I thought that was so surreal to think that people would recognize someone who is just as shit as me. I'm just a normal person who just enjoys playing game. I didn't expect people to care about how well I perform in the game. I just play, show off the gun, and what my thoughts are about it. That's what I've always done. And I've seen people comment on the I am a god phrase that I use. It's a Kanye quote from it's a Kanye song from 2013. I am a god. It's ironic because people think I have way bigger head than I do. I like to make jokes, I like to have fun, but people take it a little bit too serious sometimes. And that's not my problem at all. If I live rent free in someone's head because I make a joke online, then whatever. Um, I keep playing, and then I kind of stop, I guess, at the end of Witch Queen. I was so fed up with. Well, I didn't stop. I was just on the brink of not wanting to play. Lightfall became my make or break moment for continuing. That was the thing. And also my YouTube channel was probably at its biggest, at least view wise, at that time when Lightfall dropped. So I had a reason to keep going because I saw growth for my channel. But then YouTube became annoying and annoying to post videos. I had ideas, I had concepts, you know, I just thought it became boring to do the same thing over and over. Just upload videos of me saying, hey guys, this gun just came out. Whoa, so cool. It has these perks. Enjoy it. I just didn't think that was what I wanted to make. So I stopped making it altogether. Kind of. Which is why this video is kind of ironic. But then I started exploring with different kinds of content. Things that were more jokey, showcasing underused and underperforming gameplay, like subclasses and certain builds and etc. etc. Things I find a little bit more enjoyable than just showing off a gun. So I stuck with that. And I stuck with that. And then, midway through Lightfall, I remember them just doing weird changes, but I didn't see a reason of quitting. I just thought, hey Bungie, maybe 340s should get a nerf, like No Time has been good since season 11, like very good, but hey, let's nerf it. Also, No Time wasn't. I'm trying to think, was No Time the first like gun we could try before the DLC drop? I don't remember, but I just remember 340s were good, right? And No Time at least came out with Beyond Light. They two burst since season 11, which is a few years by then. We're in midway through Lightfall at this point, and they still didn't think they were a problem. And they weren't apparently a problem because SMGs were the most broken thing in the game. But then again, if you look at it from a critical perspective, it's the only reason SMGs became so powerful is because Void Titan was incredibly stupid at the time. If you have more health than an enemy player, you will most likely win the gunfight if you hit more bullets than them, or if both of you hit the same amount of bullets. And Immortal with probably one of the best TTKs, No Time, Immortal had the second best TTKs, and then sidearms. So unless someone was using a Drang, you probably would win most gunfights no matter what, since you wouldn't try to engage in a fight where you couldn't win. And they had insane range for the time, since range wasn't nerfed. So at that time, I just thought they made some interesting moves. Like, why don't you look at why people play so close instead of prioritizing nerfing every weapon that people cry about? He is zimming, that must the SMG must be broken. He is zimming, that means the SMG must be broken. He is zimming, that means the SMG must be broken. That's kind of the conclusion that came through that conversation. Then they nerf PKs, then they nerf SMGs 5-6 times, then they nerf target lock a few times, they nerf void overshield, and then they nerf bubbles. They do start to look at the problems, which is more of the time abilities than weapons, ironically. Heat rises. What enables heat rises? Pulse rifles, scout rifles. That enables to play with heat rises. Long range weapons, since you have the advantage of taking odd angles high up in the air, which is why a lot of roller players complained about it, from what I gathered, since it was the biggest counter to Void Titan. Ironically, well versus bubble. That became essentially the meta during like season 15. I think that's when it was, like 21? Dude, I don't remember. Season of the Deep, whenever the fuck that was. I don't remember anymore. I don't even know what season we are in anymore. I just remember it was Season of the Deep. So when Antaeus wards got originally nerfed again. The second time. But I thought the game was playable for the longest time. At least, I could enjoy the game to some extent every week. And that's where we come to today. Today is a little bit odd. Lightfall ended in a pretty good manner, I'd say. They figured out a system that necessarily didn't kill special ammo, but enabled primary gameplay, reduced ability, reduced ability dependence, essentially. Because right now, I'd say we're in a pretty good ability dependence. This is the same thing 30th Anniversary did. If you don't know, 30th Anniversary didn't really touch on that many guns, because fusion rifles were incredibly stupid at the time. If anyone remembers, Timeline Vertex, anyone? Like, fusions were incredibly strong at 30th Anniversary, but the thing that really touched and made PvP feel so euphoric at the time, if you look back at it, why it's so nostalgic, is because they completely neutered abilities, but this was also because they wanted 3.0 to not be as broken as it ended up becoming. That's the unfortunate truth about it. And, yeah, 3.0 kind of settled a new game for everyone. People don't know how to feel about it, if that was the reason everything became so broken. But today, after a year of pain and misery, aka the final shape, Prismatic, running dominant for a year, more pulse rifles on pulse rifles on pulse rifles, some scouts, some handkin, even some SMG to some extent, but not necessarily that much. Even sidearm, like every gun has its shine. Auto rifles, every gun has its shine. It's just how bright do you want it to shine, right? If you want there to be a backbone gun, make that obvious and state that when you're making changes. If you want there to be a gun that you want to be the baseline of how every gun should perform, state it. Make sure that people know what you're aiming for. If you want handkins to be the baseline gun of what most guns should be reliant upon, then say that. You do measure range, time to kill, and then you base it off with a handkin and how a handkin would perform. This is not a good change of doing it at all, but at least it gives us some insight on why you're making stupid changes all the time to guns. The guns that do seem very oppressive get tweaked slightly, and then slightly again. That's why SMGs got hit so many times. Because first it was M&K that was broken. They were too consistent on M&K. Let's make that a difference. No, it's the zoom, guys. The zoom is being really oppressive on SMGs. That's why they have so much range. Fix the zoom on all guns. Oh no, it's rangefinder itself. Change rangefinder. And you see the pattern. It continues. Oh, guys, it was target lock all along. Let's fix target lock. Oh, guys, target lock is not good enough anymore. Let's do it again. Guys, it was actually PKs this whole time. Sorry, Void Titans kind of made them really powerful. Let's nerf Void Titan more. You see the pattern here? They like slightly tweak things and make sure that this is the problem. That's why we're addressing it. Then goes to a completely different situation of why first it was stability, then it was range, then it was perks, then it was abilities, right? And they do this for a lot of things. Ironically, this is kind of how the sandbox operates, and it's not good. It's not good at all. What happened when the D2 content creators could try out the shotgun handkin for the first time? What they all said was, this is really stupid. This is really broken. Bungie came out and stated then, guys, don't worry, we're going to fix him and tweak him and make him a little bit more balanced. Well, once everyone got their hands on it, specials eradicated overnight. No more special ammo. Now to address the issues with other specials underperforming, first let's start off with sniper rifles. You get 2 bullets now every time you pick up a brick that drop on the ground. I don't think this is necessarily an awful change, seeing how things currently operate. I've seen a lot of snipes. Like every time I kill someone almost, I get 2 bullets to my sniper, which is pretty good. And so far I haven't found snipers a problem at all, personally. Except for the handful of cheaters that have been sniping me through the wall, but they also have infinite ammo, so it doesn't really matter on my part. Then we have, of course, good old Behemoth. I'm a Behemoth player, so I'm kind of excited to see what happens next week. If you use the aspect Howl the Storm, you now get 2 charges. Does this mean I can use my melee 4 times in a row if I'm not hitting a target? You see where I'm going with this. Cryoclasm got its cooldown reduced by half. Actually pretty cool. I enjoyed these, since they kind of killed cryoskating to begin with. So they're giving you double the cryoclasm, and they're doubling your melee. To me, it seems like Behemoth will become the Titan movement class, again, even better. But will it compete with Solar Warlock? Probably not. Will it compete with, Void Titan? Probably not. Will it compete with Solar Hunter? Probably not. But it will be fun, because Hollow the Storm won't freeze anymore, it's going to slow. So that's a pretty big nerf to Hollow the Storm, unless the crystals guarantees you the kill. Since they're increasing the crystals, Cryoclasm slide through it, and the opponent might be dead. See, this is the thing we don't know until we test it, right? So, I'm interested to see how Iron Banner will be next week. Anyway, you should come and watch me on Twitch. I will be live the second this video comes out, and sorry for this video being very random. But I spoke my heart, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble for how long? 26 minutes. Amen, brother.